Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Easy here. Just to see if you guys are chiming in through Twitch or Twitter. Welcome. Today we'll be doing an update on the Alpha Sharks platform, and we'll be walking through that as well. So, again, we'll give it about 5-10 minutes to let people jump in, and we will get started. All right, welcome those watching on Twitch and Twitter. This is again going to be an Alpha Sharks review. We are going to be going through the platform and seeing what stats we can utilize to potentially formulate a strategy. We're going to see if we can get a live play, if we're able to do that ideally. If not, we'll just go over some of the questions that people actually have. So if you guys have a question, I can actually overlay or highlight your guys' questions on screen. Again, for those in the Discord, you guys can click that link. If you guys wanted to come up on stage on the live stream, you guys can do that as well. So let's actually get started. All right, so today we're going to be going over the trending page. We've had some updates from the last week's video as well, and some of that's going to be our actual volume traded at our actual time frame. So I believe this used to be average. It was average floor price, and I think amount of sales. Forgot what metric this was in particular, but now we have volume ETH traded, which is something that we definitely like to filter out by most times, because again, we do want to be where the volume is at, because what this causes is more volatility, and with more volatility, we're looking for more range to play within, meaning more potential money to be made. So one of the first things I like to go in here to look at is the 24-hour volume. And I just want to see what's quote unquote normal for the day. What does normal look like in volume wise? So up here we can see we have about 50 ETH volume, 45 ETH volume. We have a nice jump up here at 76 ETH volume, then another nice jump up at 89 volume. So this is telling me, hey, there's some demand coming inside of these projects, and this genuine undead is double what Anonymous Ape Yacht Club actually is for the last 24 hours. And again, we're just looking at this to see where's the demand at. And again, we're on a 24-hour time frame right now, so on a longer scale for sure, because one of these projects could just be minting out, and that could be extremely bullish if it's putting up the numbers that it is right now. But when we go into smaller time frames, we will definitely be going into that as well. So let's go down into some more volume and see again what's quote unquote normal. We see 11 ETH, not too much. 15, again, not as much as we had up top with 40 and 80 ETH volume. Now again, we see 50, 50, 85. So about that 50 zone, that's pretty normal. So anything under that is going to be pretty subpar, we would call that. And that's just a kind of a quick reference of just trying to see again where the actual demand is. So then what I like to do is go into the smaller time frames. Personally, I like to go into like the hourly, and again get a number for what's quote unquote normal for the demand that's actually coming in. And exactly how we do that is going to be the exact same way that we did it on the 24-hour time frame. So up here we do see that we have 30 ETH volume traded, which, looking at all the other ones so far, at least from the ones that we can see, it's pretty much trampling over almost every single one in here. Notice the next one up is 1.2 ETH volume traded, then 0.84 ETH volume traded. Then you have one that's 3 ETH volume traded, but that's still 10 times what we're doing. Yeah, so again, 10 times more volatility, 10 times more demand coming inside this actual project. So something we definitely want to have our eye out for. Another one that's kind of sticking out here is going to be this one, the Rare 8 Pepes with 18 ETH within the last hour. that's going to be the next one that I see with double-digit ETH volume. So I would definitely be keeping an eye out for this as well. But I would say that if we actually have some live sales going on with this project here, this is probably going to be our live example for the day. Let me check the comments to see if we have any questions. Has the, oops, one sec. Yo, has the session started? Yes, we have started. Am I muted? That would be terrible if I'm muted. No, I'm good. I should be good, right? Twitter, no audio. Okay, I will check that out. Okay, cool. The quality is so much better on here than actual Discord. Cool. There's a nice little life hack right there as well. You can hop into the little link that I sent. I guess the stream quality is a little better. Probably a little less delayed as well. But anyways, let's jump into the actual view and let's see what we can actually see what we got in here. Cool. James, hot mic. Cool. All right. Ooh, so we got some nice orders coming in on this one. So let's actually see. Let's do a breakdown of what's actually going on. So the reason why we picked this project in the first place was going to be the actual volume that was coming in. So we can see that on the 24-hour trending page that this was one of the highest ones being traded. Then we went into the 15-minute, the hour, and into all the smaller time frames, which this one was, again, blowing every other project out of the water in terms of ETH volume traded. So this is where the demand is. And what I like to do personally is go into the charts and see, okay, where are we at particularly inside of the cycle of, I call it the life of, I guess, the trading mechanism that the project is actually going on in. So what part of, or what portion of the, I guess, pattern that we're kind of in. So you can see we actually have this nice little run up, nice little retrace, and we always talk about this pattern that pops up here is picking out a localized bottom and picking out a localized top and getting this retrace. And as long as this retrace doesn't precede this last low that it has created down here, then we're looking for the next push up at this point. And again, how far we push up on that is going to depend on if we can actually get past this high. Because if we can't get past this high, then we're just creating a next higher low, which is pretty much just creating a triangle formation at this point, which is going to create some type of apex point for us to pick a direction, whether buyers come in and start buying it up or sellers start coming in and start selling it down. And one of the main factors we would like to look at here at this point in particular is going to be our amount of listings. I know our listings chart down here doesn't show us this particular time frame. I know it's 10 o'clock PST, but this actually goes to 10:15. But nonetheless, notice when at this time frame from 10:15 to about 10:45, all the way from here, we actually we don't have our sales coming in here either, but most of the time we do talk about listings going up and price actually receding with that. This case is actually a little different because we actually have our listings actually rising at this point. But one of the main reasons that we have continuation inside this price action that's actually happening here is going to be our actual volume that's coming in. Just because our listings are going up does not mean that our price will be going down. Listings can be rising. It's more of a rare case that this actually happens where we have listings actually rise and price actually rise. But what this is telling us is that the demand is overtaking the amount of supply that's actually coming into the project. So though active listings are increasing, we have demand, which is why I was kind of hoping we had this chart right here to see the true demand come in, because I'm sure we could have started to see order flow like this. But ideally, here we can see on the volume chart that that's exactly what started happening. That notice each candlestick is actually getting just a bit higher than the last one, or staying just about the same as the last one. While our listings are slowly, steadily increasing. So pretty neat example that we have here. We don't see that too often. So this is telling us that this is very strong. You have buyers that are coming in that really wanted to get into this project, but notice what you happen to start doing at this point. Notice that we were kind of in this big kind of upward trend, and that's why this price action kind of correlated with kind of this nice bounce off of these bottom trend lines. You can see actually where we started to snap the bottom trend line, and look exactly what's happening with our volume at that point as well. So not only with our listings actually increasing, but our volume decreasing here is going to give us that pullback or that retrace in price action here. Because again, ideally we go back to the supply and demand model. As long as the demand is, or as long as supply is staying or is increasing over time, you need demand that is going to match that and overtake that for price to actually rise. The part where price is actually going to decrease is where we actually saw this right here, where we have volume actually decreasing with listings actually going up. Because again, what's demand? Demand is our actual, volume is our actual demand. And what's listings? Listings is just our supply. And we can see the direct correlation here. We have volume decreasing, meaning demand is happening a lot less, where listings are actually going up and more supply is going into circulation. So ideally, you do need more demand to come in here to justify that price to go up. Cool. Yo, I can't hear. Am I having like mic issues or something today? It doesn't. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure what's up with everybody's stream, but we shall proceed. But yeah, that's pretty much kind of the pattern that I'm seeing right here. So ideally right here, what I'd be looking for is I'm looking at this major impulse move. Then I'm seeing that we're actually at this retrace point. And what I ideally want to see is us hold this last low, which is pretty much this 0.5 zone. And with the topping of whatever this zone is, this 0.1. So we're playing within a 0.5 range. And we're trading at that, just almost at that 0.75, almost right in the middle of that. And yeah, ideally what we'd want to start seeing is, I think it's really a major indicator is going to be our volume. Our volume has to stay consistent here. We want to see what's actually happening now. We want to see the volume bars increasing as opposed to seeing this. If we start to see this type of price action or this type of demand or lack thereof, with listings still steadily increasing over time, we'll just be creating higher lows at this point and just honestly just creating another trend, just going the other direction. Um, and that's ideally not something you want to kind of see as the buyer coming in. Um, so you're kind of in that dip buying zone, but again, this is where knowing the fundamental news is going to uh, help out tons. If there's some type of fundamental news or some type of collaboration or some type of incentive for people to actually hold or buy, that's definitely going to help out this type of price action that's actually happening here. But this is actually a neat example. We don't get too many um, projects that actually push off increased listings over time. So that's a very neat example that we got to see today. Um, cool. Do we have any questions? I know there's a few people in the queue, but I'm sure you guys are probably just watching from there. Um, yeah, if you guys had any questions regarding anything, going over the uh, view tab, going over the trending tab, going over any particular indicators that anybody had questions with. It's kind of more of an open session today since, yeah. We're quiet today. Alright. I think that's it for this play. Let's see what we got going on the minting page. See if we have anything that's worthwhile. Same project. Zora. Not really anything going on the minting page either. Seems like this is kind of the play right now. Let's go into the 5 minute. Again, looking for ETH volume traded to see if there's kind of anything going on. And we can see this is still kind of top ETH volume traded, at least on the 5 minute here. Oh, we have this. What's this? Ugly price action. The reason I say that's just because it's very liquid. When you start to see like lots of dots just kind of bouncing everywhere, it's not a very liquid project. Doesn't mean it's not good or can't run, but it just means there's less demand coming in at that point. Oh, there we go. Question. James, how do you configure personally your trading view and what you're going to for entering a trade, like a no-brainer? How do you personally configure your trading view? I'm not sure I'm getting that question. Your trading view and what you're going to enter on entering a trade. If you could reword that, James, I'll get to that one. Tap. Delistings. It's common for me to see the same item appearing multiple times back to back as delistings. Does that mean the item's price was changed multiple times for those listings to have been canceled? Yes. So anytime that you see the same item that pops up multiple times, it should be highlighted inside that inside the view, the trending tab here. So let's see if we go in here, let's see if we have any delistings. So like right here, if you actually have a delisting going on, you'll see that it changes the highlight color of, I guess, the transaction that's actually happening. So it actually has this little yellow hue behind it. Actually, like you have posted there. Um, and you'll notice the white portion on the left side. Uh, Georgette, hot mic. You'll see on the left side, that there's a white portion there, and what that's going to tell you is that yes, this person's delisted, but they've also actually have a higher listing elsewhere. So you'll see lots of that kind of happen because, like you said, you're going to be looking for um, people that are actually looking to delist and cancel their listings to either put it at a higher price or um, list it elsewhere. So, yeah, it's a good question. James, I mean, you can change the time frames and the intervals you're on. What is something that makes you enter a trade while knowing the odds are very high? Hmm. Okay, that's a good question. It's kind of an accumulation of things. It's not like one. If I see one thing, I kind of enter a trade. I mean, I don't think I can say I've ever done some type of trade like that where I've just I mean, you're just gambling at that point if you're just kind of just throwing money at it. But this a combination of things I like to go through, and it's going to be through this actual top portion of the Alpha Sharks view. So I like to go left to right, meaning I like putting these two portions together. And what I like to trade personally is I like to see this owner to supply ratio. I like to see it over 50%. That's just, again, a personal preference. Not saying that this is how you have to do this, but this is what I do. I like to see this percentage over 50%. And the reason for that being is whenever there's higher owners to supply, it's meaning that ideally each owner has less of each asset that's actually in circulation. So what that's going to tell me is going to direct me to this chart down here. And notice we have these color combinations with the green, the orange, the blue, and the actual purple. And what this is going to tell us is the amount of tokens that people are holding. And again, that's what this ratio is kind of telling us at this point. It's just telling us where the people are actually selling that have this many tokens. And the reason I bring us down to this chart is because when this number is way higher than 50%, let's say like a 95%, or let's say in a perfect world 100%. So there was let's say for this amount of supply and the exact same amount of owners. So at that point, ideally, everybody would have one token, meaning all these sell charts would be green. And I like to tell people that that's a thinner wall to get through, because think about it as a seller on their perspective. If you only have one of a particular asset, you're a lot more likely to hold on to that asset if almost everybody kind of has the same mindset in mind and has kind of the same situation going on as well. But think about it if the situation was flipped and everybody had 10 NFTs across the board. And at that point, you and I'm sure a few other people would kind of have the same mindset of, if this project actually happened to run off of price action, meaning like go up in price, you're probably a lot more inclined as a seller to de-risk and let some off, as opposed to holding if everybody just had one. So that's one of the metrics I like to look at. I like to have very high owner to supply ratio, and preferably I'd rather see a lot more green and orange walls, kind of like we're seeing here right now, as opposed to what we're seeing kind of in other projects with I guess, bigger supplies or lower ETH prices with, I guess, these blue and purple walls with people buying 5 to 9 tokens and 10 plus tokens even. So that's one metric to look at. This one is going to be huge as well. NBCP. It's going to be our next blue chip probability. And this one over time is probably one of the most important indicators because it's not only a technical indicator, it's also a fundamental indicator as well. Um, it's has a very social theme to it, meaning just because this number is going higher, it also means that the audience that is buying into this project is a part of a broader audience that we're trying to grasp into the space or at least into the project. So ideally, the higher the number here, the more eyes and the more eyes with money that are kind of looking at this project potentially. And that's all we're kind of looking for, right? The potential demand. And this number is pretty much directly giving us that at this point. So I like to see this number pushing like 7 to 10%. Once you start pushing that 10, 12, 15%, that's when over time you can start to see projects like Goblins was a great example. I think Rary Pepes was a great example. These projects that kind of start off, I guess, as either free mints or I don't know, just low priced. Over time, this number has been very key. So this is also one number I'm definitely looking at. But again, it's not, I don't just see this and I see a high number and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna jump in. That's very rare. I would never do that. Um, because again, it's a combination of kind of all these things that we're going to go over. Next is going to be the listings, and listings here is going to be directly correlated to this chart down here. What I also like to do is I like to see listings to the actual total supply, because we know the total supply, that's going to be a stagnant number. We know that this is, well, if it seems like this is still minting, but when this mints out, we know that that number is going to be stagnant. It's not going to move anymore. The number that we actually should be worrying about is going to be this number, because yeah, we can have 50,000 supply, but if we only have 10 listings, that's going to be huge because of that percentage that we're actually doing here. So from listings to supply ratio, I like to see under 10%. Just ideally, again, that's going to tell us how thin or thick our cell walls are going to be. So linking those again and using those kind of in coordination is going to be very useful. Yeah. 1 hour cancels is pretty solid if you get some play with some type of news catalyst. So if you're talking like a news event or like, again, some collaboration or some type of tool access or just any type of catalyst that can spark holders to actually hold the project. This can actually help you out some as well. So seeing the 1 hour cancels can, if you start to see lots of people canceling at this point, you probably know that there's some type of indication that there's a reason why these people are actually canceling. So also a good metric to look at. This little trio up here, I do use, but we mostly use it, again, I use it more for like the trending page, and that's how we break down getting into these projects or like finding the projects just in general. But knowing the amount of sales and stuff, especially for a momentum trade, is going to help you out tons. So again, if you guys are in the Discord and you guys don't have a question, if you guys could just mute, a couple of you guys have some hot mics. All right. Um, cool. So yeah, those were pretty much going to be most of the metrics that I'm kind of looking at to potentially get into some trades. Um, also, I was always talking about, I only talked about these two charts here, the bottom left one and this bottom right one. This middle one right here is probably going to be your bread and butter, um, especially in the midst of an actual momentum play. Because the reason I say that is because notice the time frame that we're actually calculating here. It's about a 15-minute time frame. So from what, 11:20 to about 11:35. So we're only getting this price action that's showing up within this time frame. But this price action here, this graph here is telling us a lot. It's literally telling us our supply and demand at this point. So with purple being our amount of sales, so as we go up on the graph, it's going to be positive sales. So obviously sales is going to correlate to our demand, and we want to see that rise over time if we're looking to actually buy into the project. These red and green bars, they're actually going to be our listings, and they're going to indicate two different types of listings. So the green is going to indicate the listings that we're actually picking up for the first time. So if NFT has actually got listed for the first time, you're going to see a green bar actually pop up here. And you can actually do that in this portion as well with listing nature. And you can actually see here, you'll get that pop up as well. If you get the red portion, you're going to see delisting or delistings from the last person that actually listed that. And basically meaning that they had undercut themselves. So if you start to see lots of red listings coming in at this point, you're starting to see lots more people undercut themselves, meaning they're probably undercutting each other at that point. So if you start to see listings increasing, just because it's going down, these are two positive metrics. They're just being shown as being displayed as this, but this is a positive metric. So if this is listings are going up over time and our demand is staying flat and not doing anything, then ideally our price action should be doing what it is doing, which is retracing. The portions where you'll start to see where if we can actually hold and get this reversal is if ideally we could see this. Again, this chart here is showing listings, and what these bars here are showing are listings as well. So we want this to be going down, and we want our listings to be going more towards zero, because again, that's less listings. And what else would we like to see? We'd like to see our demand starting to rise as well. If we can start to see this happen, I can almost guarantee you that we see price actually rise at this point as well. And that's how you're going to be able to spot these potential reversals that are actually happening. And that's honestly probably one of the hardest things to do, is to see the true reversal, because what defines the reversal is going to be the volume that's coming in. And that can only be seen, I guess, from live action. I guess if you're watching the sweeps come through, I mean, other than that, if you're missing those sweeps, then you're probably seeing it on a scanner, which probably means that you're late. So that's a great question. And I think this view here that Sharks actually gives us is very, very useful for these types of plays that have been kind of happening a lot. And yeah, just going back to that question of, I guess, what decides the factor of how I go into the trade. Here, what truly what defines me getting into a trade or not is going to be risk. And I have to ask myself, am I willing to risk X amount? And how much am I willing to risk? And is, if that question can be justified, then I will go ahead and take that trade. If I cannot justify the risk that is being put on, because the potential reward isn't there, I won't take the trade. Because again, the idea is to live to play another day, because all it takes is one potential project to take off uh, like a goblins or a rare pepes. That can make life changing accounts to some people. And again, just being able to mitigate risk and be in the game is kind of the key. So over time, this does get easier. It is probably one of the hardest things that you'll be able to do, but the more that you sit here and watch and get the screen time and the screenshots and the practice of watching how these stats interact with each other, it's not impossible to time these retraces, and not impossible to time these tops and bottoms. It's not. Um, if you guys actually put in the work to do it, it is very possible. Again, just seeing it over time and putting in the work is going to help out tons. But yeah. Let's see if there's any more questions. Yeah, no worries, James. Hope that helped. Cool. All right. Let me see if there's any more questions. Again, for those chiming in for the first time, we do these sessions twice a week. This is going to be the first session for the week. We do have one tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, going over kind of the same concepts that we're going over today, meaning going over particular stats, over particular live plays, going over indicators to potentially form strategies that we can use, and again, just asking questions about the overall platform and trying to, again, best utilize that or get it to best fit everybody that's kind of utilizing it. So again, if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, this would definitely be the place to do it. We do go over each session as a team and get direct feedback from you guys. So I hope you guys can see the effort and the work that's actually going into the Alpha Sharks tool itself. But yeah, we're again trying to make this as accommodable with everybody as possible. And again, without you guys, this is pretty impossible to do. So I just want to thank kind of everybody that has been coming out. I do see lots of new faces that are coming into the stream. But yeah, again, appreciate you guys coming down. Do have a $100 ETH giveaway for those who have actually stuck around and participated. We have taken a screenshot throughout the session, and I don't have Jap here today, so he's not going to be able to help out with the actual live wheel. So what I did do is I sent him the screenshot for everybody that has showed up, and we will do the raffle. We'll record everybody's name being put into the raffle, and we will post a video either during the week or the next session, and we will get that out to you guys. But yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out again. I know it's a little last minute and late notice, but again, without you guys, these sessions are not possible. And we truly appreciate your guys' feedback, your guys' time, and you guys just coming out. So, yeah, I hope you guys learned something from this session. If you guys, again, can try to spread the word, maybe try to get the word out some, it would be awesome help to us as a team and just to the tool and the community as a whole. So, yeah, if you guys appreciate this, you guys can retweet or like or do whatever you guys would like. And I will catch you guys at the next session you guys happen to be there. But if not, I will guys catch you guys next week. And may your guys' bags be pumped.